Welcome back to the IE Productions channel to Sound Bits. On this episode, I actually have the trifecta. So on the two previous episodes before, I had two of the artists, but today I actually have their producer and their sound engineer who has actually made a lot of the production and has helped out with a lot of the way that the songs themselves sound, both for Mr. Mike Yorks and even Trilogy, Malik, to be able to get them released and stuff. But before I get into any of those details, anything specific, today I have Mr. Steffan Brown, who is an audio engineer, and we're gonna get to know him. I'll give him a little chance to be able to do a brief introduction, and then we'll get started in the conversation. So whenever you're ready, man.
Yeah, like you said, my name is Steffan Brown, and I'm a mixing and master engineer and a little bit of producer, dabble on that side a little bit. But yeah, I'm also an artist myself. I make my own music, but I prefer having overall vision for kind of just overseeing everything and producing and just letting everything have its own sound, letting every song be its own entity. So that's why I kind of, I try to dabble in when I make music and whatnot.
No, and we'll definitely get into that, especially like you're a little bit of your vocals and your production style, and we'll definitely delve into that a little bit with a couple of the songs that you sent me over to sample. But before we get into anything specific like that, let's get to know you first. Like I said, so we had a bit of a back and forth via Instagram doing Messenger, and I got to learn a lot about you. And just by happenstance, little coincidence, we all four of us have served in the military. You, Mike,
right,
and Malik, we're all on the same ship and stuff. And so it's like, it's really awesome for me, like I said, to be able to one, still get to know and talk to other artists that are military service members. But
right,
outside of that, there's more to it, and that's what we're gonna get into. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, how early life was to you, and then we'll start getting into the questions about how you got into music.
right. So originally I was born in Guyana, which is South America, right above. Suriname is also right next to us. So me and Mike, we were neighboring countries and whatnot. We moved to the United States in, I can't even remember when, honestly, to tell you, probably like 2005, I want to say, and whatnot. Moved to the United States. We were in Florida first because my dad was in school to be a robotics engineer. And then once he graduated, moved to California, San Jose. And then we moved to a small town called Lathrop. So that's where I reside in right now, actually, is where I came back to. So yeah, when it came to music and everything, my earliest memory is Kanye West Graduation. That album, my dad had bought the CD. And I would always like to say, which is actually true, people think I'm always joking, but back then I was a loner. But that album was always kind of like my only friend I had at the time. So I would always be listening to, Graduation, hearing all the different sounds. But at that time I was young. I didn't know what I was hearing. So I'm hearing all these different sounds, all these songs that just stuck in my brain and my memory. And I think that's when it kind of opened up the world. Katy Perry was huge then. Those were the early days of just music where the radio was actually kind of fun to listen to at that time. So
no, dude,
that's how I kind of got to it.
Yeah, no, and that's legit, and that I can still remember that during that time the radio was literally the only place. Like we were still in the early emerging in the emerging states of a lot of the streaming and YouTube and people becoming artists off of the internet. But still, the majority of what a lot of the, I guess the one I want to say within the newer generation and a lot of the upcoming generation that are coming into terms of the music is like the hot hits, the top 40, the hot 100 billboards. They're still there today, but they are nothing in comparison to what's now the front page of YouTube, the Spotify recommendations, the Apple Music hot artists and all that stuff. So like I said, I still remember those days, man. But here, let's step it back a little bit. So you're born in Guyana. You live in Guyana. Right. They speak French, Spanish. I'm trying to remember, bro.
No, so there is a French Guyana, but I was on the French part. I'm in the part where it still speaks English. So
gotcha.
We're like really fluent, or not really, but we were fluent in English, and we didn't speak another language.
Okay, so yeah, so like what do you call it? Like the last episode, I didn't want to get it mixed up with Mike, dude. But no, but that's that other thing too. It's just like the amount of influence in the area in the country of Guyana, but South America and everything. So from what you can remember, how was music like for you in Guyana, being before you actually moved to the States, and how much of that actually influenced you once you started producing in the States?
So it was actually interesting in Guyana. Like a lot of the songs have the same beat, so you'll hear the same beat for like three different songs. So you'll hear a beat come on, and it's not like distinctive, where you're like, oh, that's this. No, it's like you have to guess. You're like, you don't know what lyrics are gonna come on because everyone's using the same beat over and over again. But we had a lot of Sean Paul. Obviously, he was huge. Um, we had Wayne, Beanie Man. We had all of them. Like they were huge at that time. You know, our country really gravitated towards that music because it sounded like us, and the accents also sound like us. So that's the type of music we gravitated to in Guyana. But I wasn't, like I said, I was a kid, so I wasn't really into music at that time. I think the earliest memory of rap or hip hop, my dad had a Biggie CD. I think it was Notorious or Ready to Die or whatnot, and he would always play it. So it had songs on there like Dead Wrong with Eminem. I remember that like distinctly. And that's the main rap album. Oh, he had Jay-Z, the Black Album too. So I was like really young when that one came out. But they would play it so much that even now still those songs are really stuck in my head. And those were my like I think that's where my top two rappers kind of came from, Biggie and Jay-Z. And come to find out later on that they had an exceptional skill of just being able to not write anything down, but just like, rap. And I always admired that because I can't do it. So anything I can't do, I tend to admire more. So people who can like write lyrics down easily, I admire them more because they could do that. I can't do that. So,
No,
you
dude.
know,
And they do have a very unique style. So a lot of what that does, and one thing that I can actually tell you from Mike that you probably didn't know, his style, along with a lot of the new modern style with lyricists and artists in hip hop and in rap right now, is they use the punch in, punch out style. So
right.
a little background on me. I like I said, I had my small avenue into the music industry under hip hop and rap, and that was one of those things where it's just like you learn to be able to lyricize and try to spin it at the moment, right? But it's really difficult. It's really difficult unless you do that. And a lot of the thing that people don't understand is like, for you to be able to do it in that manner is very, very specific to battle rappers. So Eminem being one of the most famous white rappers, but also a battle rapper from his time frame, Notorious B.I.G. rapping out in the streets in Brooklyn, Queens, all over, knocking everybody out. And then Jay-Z, his whole entire endeavor was slinging product, we'll just call it that, slinging product in the corners. But he even, I think it was in the blueprint, where he literally goes into a tangent where he's like, yeah, I would literally walk every single day and then just keep repeating the lyrics in my head. So once I get back to the kitchen table, immediately just write it down. So his is just more off the cuff. What do you call it? A lot of off the cuff memorization. But yeah, but that's what it's called. Punch in, punch out. But enough of that on me, man. Enough of that on me. But so yeah, so that influence is very, very specific, especially since you moved to the West Coast, and it's a very different type of hip hop and rap style. So what was one, and then you mentioned this right before we started recording, what was one of the albums that with Kanye West that really influenced you, and what was so special about it, if you can tell me one thing with it?
So mine was Kanye West, Graduation. I think that was the album that really just opened up my eyes, just because, like I said before, off when we spoke offline, I was a loner when growing up. Like, I was really different when I first got here. I got teased a lot. Kids could be cruel. So since I got teased so much, I didn't really have a lot of friends. But my dad had got the Graduation disc, and back when CDs was still popular. I still like to listen to CDs, by the way, but it's always a fun time. But yeah, Graduation just sounded like nothing I heard before, especially at that time. He had synths everywhere, and at the time I didn't know what I was hearing. The synths, the 808, the drums and everything. The way he would deliver his lyrics, no one was doing it like that, because at that time Lil Wayne was huge. He was still in his mixtape era, so there was a whole lot of him just spitting bars, and there's not really any hooks, but people still, I think at that time, was easier for people to remember lyrics. just because they were actually paying attention to the lyrics and the bars. But now these days, people just pay attention to hooks, you know. But yeah, graduation just sounded like nothing I ever heard before, and it always drew me in, but I never knew why. And I think Kanye West was my favorite artist at that time for sure,
Yeah.
because he reminded me of me, like a lot of me. Like he wasn't from the hood or anything, you know. He was just being himself. So
No, you're right. And then Kanye West, he was a very specific type of artist. He was a very specific type of artist. And the fact that he actually got his start with Dilated Peoples, a very prominent underground group that if your listeners and my listeners, they don't recognize, that's because good luck trying to find them. But they're a very select type of music. But no, dude, it really does sound that at that point, your musical taste not necessarily shifted, but your interest in the music shifted over towards the production and how it was done. So before we get into that specifically, so you joined the military. Around what time did you join the military? That way we can kind of like grasp it, how you met Steffan and how you met Mike and Malik.
yeah, so I joined the military in 2016, June 8th. I'll never forget that date. But I had met Mike because he was on the same ship as me. Malik was on another ship, but me and him met because of his first producer that he made on the ship. Her name was Mumu, or Mona Lisa Ramos, but that all ties in too, like also on the part of the journey, that all tie into it. So when I first got to the ship in 2016, I ran to Mike, you know, like I was new to the ship and everything. And it was just like a brief contact. He just walks by me, hands me a mixtape CD, and just walks away. And I'm like, who still listens to CDs anymore? So literally, that's my first thought of him. I'm like, man, this guy's just walking around handing out CDs. And I didn't have a car at the time because, you know, I'm new to Virginia. I'm from California. I go to Virginia, culture shock, completely different. So I'm over here thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm probably never going to listen to a CD anyways because no one has a CD player anymore. You know, we're all digital now. Like my phone barely has a headphone jack anymore. So I kind of wrote it out of my head of like listening to the CD. But anyways, um, deployment's coming up in 2017, and this is like late 2016 at this point. So deployment's coming up. As soon as I get to the ship, that's all everyone's talking about. Oh, we're going on deployment in a few months next year soon. Oh, deployment's coming up. You might want to stock up, blah blah blah. So moving forward, I finally meet this guy on the ship who has a CD player on his computer because he's a gamer. So, you know, those big gaming computers used to be like huge at the time. And luckily he had a CD player. I borrowed his laptop, ripped the songs from the computer and put it on my phone. And I listened to it. And I was like, man, this guy's pretty good. You know, because after you graduate high school or in life, you know, people who attempt to do music, but it just sounds like, you know, people trying to do music, but Mike actually sounded kind of established. Like he actually does music and everything. So fast forward later on, like about 4 or 5 months later, I'm on the mess decks or lunchroom, as people call it, normal civilian people call it. And I hear him and another artist, T-Quan, who we were still close with. I hear those two like singing a song, but their voice control is so crazy that it sounds like they're like singing from the speaker. So I literally thought it was like from the speaker, it was the song was coming from. So I just walked over and I was like, hey, is that song released yet? They're like, no, we're doing it live. And that's when our friendship kind of started because, you know, I started spending more time around them. He was showing me unreleased stuff he hadn't done yet. At this time, I wasn't into music. I wasn't doing anything music wise. So he'd show me everything he was working on. And I'm like, man, you're really good, you know? And after we got back off deployment, I bought a car and everything. And he had a studio session. I tagged along and it kind of went from there. And that's when I was like, oh, this is really cool, you know, being in a studio setting. I went like 2 or 3 more times, and that's when I was like, I think I want to start doing this too. So that's how it all started.
Man, dude, that's a journey. That's like really that.
Right.
Dang, man, that's incredible, dude. Because like that's the portion that I didn't know with Mike, how he had mentioned how you guys had met. All I remember him saying was like, yeah, we met on the ship. It just turned into a whole conglomerate, and here we are now. Like he's a mastering engineer and everything, and he's my dude. I'm like, dude, sounds good. Let's get his story now and let's see how his perspective came out.
Yeah, that's how it started for me. Like literally, someone just walks up to you, hands you their CD, and I was like, man, there's no way I'm gonna listen to this because where am I gonna find a CD player? I had a laptop myself, but that's when they started making laptops without CD players. So I was just asking him like, is this released on like streaming services or can I find it online? He's like, nah, just CD. I'm like, great, nice. I'm never gonna listen to this CD, so you know. But eventually, I found a way. I listened to it. But
No.
yeah, I mean, and then from that journey, that's when he went on to make Jacinti. I didn't mix a single song on there because I wasn't mixing at the time, but I remember him going between studios and everything. And one thing that stood out to me was like, man, it doesn't sound the way I would want it to sound. For the time being, it was good, but it didn't sound the way I had wanted it to sound. And that's what kind of drove me to want to get into it. And I was like, man, next time we make something or I make something, I don't want to depend on anyone else to do it. I kind of want to do it myself to sculpt the sound that we're looking for.
Bring it back, say it like it. Bring it back, say it like it. Bring it back, say it like it. Bring it back, I just broke up with this girl, now she might have broke up with me, but I ain't gonna tell you hoes.
Or the sound that we would want. Because one thing I didn't want was people saying, oh, you sound like a SoundCloud rapper. Especially in that era, because SoundCloud kind of has a SoundCloud rapper has a certain sound. It's not exactly polished and it's not exactly clean, but it just sounds like you're kind of, even though we do make music in our bedrooms, you don't want to make it sound like you make music in your bedroom.
Oh yeah, that quality really makes a difference, especially if you have somebody that really knows what they're doing. So then with that, then let's push it a little bit forward. So you guys meet, you guys basically start getting into music, you guys get back and you start going in there as his go-to guy to be able to start producing. What was your first project that you started to take it, I guess, as more than just a hobby with the audio engineering, with the production side, and with the mastering itself?
So I think in 2017 or 2018, he left for Spain, and he left. But before he left, me and him had pulled together money and bought like a little, a cheap microphone from a USB microphone from Amazon. And I was just kind of using that. After he left, he kind of left it there, and I would just practice with it and whatnot. So I would be trying to learn how to mix. I'd be making my own songs, and I'd be trying to learn how to mix based off that. Or people from the ship who wanted to be rappers, I guess, at that time, they would come into the room, record with me, and I'd use their vocals as practice because when Mike was there, he's making songs all the time. So I'm able to have his voice as practice. But once he had left, it was kind of like, man, I was alone again. So once he left for Spain, I just kind of started engineering people in my barracks room at the time, and they would come over and I would rearrange. I didn't have a roommate, so I'd rearrange the room and kind of make it into the studio, have people record, like, they just wanted to freestyle, so record them, and I'd just be mixing all day. And for the longest time, I wasn't getting anywhere because I was using this program called Mixcraft. So the day I finally shifted, I think it was when I had went to Guitar Center and I'm looking for equipment, and my music teacher, Panda, that's when I first met him, but he was pretty much like, they were like, hey, I want to learn how to use Ableton and whatnot. Because I remember Mumu always said, or Mona Lisa, she was like, you should use Ableton. That's what I was using back in the day. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a try if it means like the difference in quality. So in my mind, I already had it set. I'm like, I'm going to keep using Mixcraft because it's what I'm good at. It's what I'm decent at. So I went, and they were like, oh yeah, if you want to use Ableton, just ask for Panda. I'm like, who is Panda and what kind of name is Panda? Who is this guy? So everyone in Guitar Center knew who he was, and I'm just like, I don't know who this guy is. He sounds like a character though. They're like, yeah, come back in 2 hours. He starts working 2 hours. Cool. Go home, go back to my barracks room, try to work on a song, go back in 2 hours. And I go back to the guy and I'm like, all right, is Panda here? He's like, yeah, just say Panda 3 times. And I'm like, all right, at this point, you guys are just messing with me because I'm not doing that. So I was like, all right, whatever. Panda, 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 whatever. And he's like, who called me? Pops up. This short guy is like 5'8", 5'8.5", pops up behind me. He's like, what's up? Super animated guy, by the way. So he's just like, yeah, what do you want to know? I'm like, all right, I'm switching to Ableton. Like, I guess I want to learn how to use Ableton. And I'm like, he's like, what do you use right now? I'm like, Mixcraft. So he pulls me to the side. And I think that's when I realized, like, I'm over here trying to do things the cheapest way possible. But he's like, look how much a Mixcraft is. And I'm like, $50. And I'm like, man, I feel bad. I can't just bother the entire time. He's like, how much is Ableton? And I'm like, 500, which I'm not spending money on right now. And he's like, that's the difference between the quality you're going to get. So that kind of shifted my mind frame. I'm like, all right, I'll give Ableton a try. And then Ableton doesn't use USB mics, so then I had to go buy a new microphone to also go along with Ableton. So within upgrading to a better DAW, I had to get like a better equipment to also go along with it. So that's what kind of started my journey from mixing and Elevate and everything. But to your original question, the first song that I really mixed that actually got released was from Mike. And I think it was a song he sent to me called Forget. So at this time, I had also met Mona Lisa Ramos because she was on the ship with Trilogy or Malik. So they came back from deployment and she pushed me to get an Apollo. And for what an Apollo is, it's an interface, recording interface. She pushed me to get an Apollo. And then she pushed me to get better speakers, which is Atom Audio too. So I owe a lot of like the equipment that I have, even to this day, to her, because if it wasn't for her, I would have still been recording off of KRKs, which nothing's wrong with that, by the way, to people who do use KRKs. But you know, it's just what the field that I'm in. I'm not into beat making. I'm into vocals, so I need clarity. So yeah, Forget was the first song. I heard the demo of it and I wanted to mix it right away. And that was one of the first ones that got, you know, that Mike heard that I can actually engineer, because this is years past. This is in 2020, I want to say. So from 2018 to 2020, I'm like just, you know, honing my craft, trying to learn how to mix better. And then finally 2 years later, he's like, yeah, this song is good enough.
Nice, dude. No, and that's a big journey that a lot of people don't understand. And just for, I guess for my clarity's sakes, when you were talking about Mixcraft, it was definitely somewhere off of, let's talk about the Deep Blue Sea, very much somewhere out there with the Jolly Roger, correct?
Right. So, yeah, a lot of people know about Mixcraft. And also another thing too was I have an issue, me personally, with Pro Tools. I don't like Pro Tools. I have a whole tangent off on Pro Tools that I'm going to go off on, because when I came back to California, I went to a music school called SAE, so which is a big production music school and everything. And they kept trying to push me to use Pro Tools, and I was just stubborn. But I mean, I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, when I started with my working and everything, then he was like, and that's one thing about Mike, I will say, if you're not good enough at something, he's not going to tell you at that time that you're good enough. He'll let you wait and just be like, yeah, you're not there yet. But once you actually do, how you are ready and everything, and he'll be like, yeah, you're definitely ready. So he's very particular too. Out of the two of us too, because people think I'm like the evil twin and he's the good twin because he's bubbly and smiling all the time. But yeah, people just think I don't like anything just because I'm not as encouraging as he is. If I don't like something, I'll just be like, yeah, not for me. But he'll be like, yeah, you could get better. He'll give you like that. But I'll just be like, hey, if you really want to know, you can do this a whole lot. But that's the difference between us. It's like night and day. And I think that contrast works, which is why we work great as a team. But yeah, after people heard the songs I did on what was that album called? I blanked out, sorry. But the album where it's like, it's like upside down. I can't remember the name of it.
Shoot, man. You got me
yeah, I think I have one song on there, but Voice Notes, sorry, there it is.
Voice Notes,
Voice
gotcha.
Notes, the song that had you and everything. You had mentioned that in your last interview. That was this album where I had two songs. I had Could It Be and I had Forget. And I had Miles Davis. That was the very first song, which, if I'm being honest, I don't even like the song Miles Davis because he had me mix it 8 times and then went back to the first one and said the first one was perfect. So me and him still have beef because of that. But yeah, those were the 3 songs on that album I actually mixed. And then that's when I started wanting to get better because I heard the other mixes on the album that he got from someone else. And I'm like, man, these guys are that much better than me. It's just, that's crazy. Like, even though I just started and everything, the gap is crazy to me that they're this much better than me and I had so much more work to do. So that made me really want to catch up to their point. And at the time I was working with Malik, Trilogy, and him and Mona Lisa, she was making beats. She's a great beat maker. Like, she thinks outside the box. Like, if you have like a simple way of thinking, she's going to go one direction. She'll go off in the other direction. And so she's so particular the way she puts things together, and she's like really good. So her and Malik were working closely together. They were working like hand in hand, and I was just kind of off on the side trying different things with vocals because I'm focused on vocals only, and she's focused on beat making. He's focused on songwriting. So I'm like, all right, I got to meet in the middle and try to at least do something different in that time.
Yeah, no, dude, that sounds like a just an entire like full production like team right there in itself. And you're very right about one thing with Pro Tools. So I still remember, I can still remember Pro Tools, one of the earliest versions of Pro Tools. And I will agree with you. I will agree with you that Pro Tools is not everything it's cut out to be, legitimately. So my biggest problem with Pro Tools that I had seen was that the learning curve was so particular to studio production at the time. And remember, studio production at the time in the early 2000s was the DAWs, everything was audio. Everything was analog with the audio. Everything was digitized to an extent, and it sounds so robotic. So when you start putting into production the Pro Tools that I saw at the time, which was like version 2 or 3, that thing was a pain in the ass. Like I said, I can understand your hatred for Pro Tools for a completely different reason, but Pro Tools is overrated. But back to the real specifics of where I was going with that is that every single producer and every single person within their craft understands their tools, and your tools are very specific to what you use it. Back to the whole thing with how it is. So Ableton is such versatile, but your specific is to vocals versus had it been Fruity Loops, had it been any other the type of the studios. Logic, there you go. Studios, Logic. Like I use Magic's Music Maker for a lot of that, and I've used it for years. But I still go back to every so often to Ableton just because it's such a simple thing to use. Magic's versus Ableton. Ableton is more like hey, I really want to get down into like a major production thing, and personally, I just haven't gotten to it. Like I said, I can definitely understand with that. So with that being said, though, within the music spectrum and completing your time at the school at SAA or SEA.
Oh, SAE, Sound and Engineering. I'm pretty sure that's what it stands for.
Gotcha. So completing your time at Sound and Engineering, they already pretty much saw you as like, hey, this dude is not going to follow within the scope of what we're trying to teach him. I'm not trying to put that in the same way, but you completed your time there and you went your own route with Ableton and all that stuff. What came after you guys started to, once you took all of this seriously and you guys released your first joint venture after all of this?
Yeah, so SAE was a journey for me. Like when I went there, I already made up in my mind. I'm like, I'm not using Pro Tools, but as part of curriculum, obviously, you have to learn how to use every DAW. So it wasn't just Pro Tools. It was, you have to learn how to use Logic. You have to learn how to use the major ones. And they only used Ableton for electronic music at the time. Well, still probably. So when I told them I want to do vocals in Ableton, they're like, yeah, that's probably not going to sound too well. But I changed their minds and everything once I showed them the songs I mixed and everything. So then I think I even converted a few people over to Ableton and just have them, like artists that went to the school. But I will say all in all, the music school did teach me a lot of stuff like hands-on, like analog stuff. But I would say for mixing wise, I kind of had to learn on by myself. Like, at that school too, I met this amazing engineer too. His name is Dennis. But he'd be the first one at school, last one to leave. School closes at 12 o'clock p.m., midnight. He'd be there from 7 o'clock in the morning, or 8 o'clock, sorry, when school started, to 12. So I saw him working on his craft, and that inspired me to want to do the same, because it's like, man, you're first one here, last one to leave. I live an hour away, you live an hour away. What's stopping me from doing the same thing? So seeing his work ethic actually really inspired me to, want to do better and be better when it came to it. But he graduated first of the class. I graduated second. He thinks I'm first. I still think he's first because he's a numbers guy. He goes off of like, oh, we got to turn this up 2.1 dB, I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what any of that stuff means, because he's like, how do you mix then? I'm like, I use my ears. If it sounds good and it feels good, then it is good. And he'll be looking at my vocal chain. He's like, I don't understand anything you did. I'm like, I don't know how to do it either, but it sounds good and it feels good, so we're just gonna roll with it. But me and him became really close over time. So if I need like advice on anything, he's the one I would go to. But yeah, he's just very particular when it comes down to numbers. He'll be like, yeah, just move that down to the 10,000 hertz. And I'm like, honestly, dude, I'm not that kind of engineer. I'm not good with numbers. I hate math, so I'm not gonna even just show me. I'm a visual person. If you show me, I can go from there. But yeah, I would say that school definitely helped me in my journey though, and helped me meet other producers like a really skilled producer by the name of Nima. He made a beat for like Y&J, who's one of these new artists, with a song called Perky Dance that went viral. So I met him. I met my good friend Jay too as well, who was also like a really skilled photographer. So I met a lot of talented people in that school, and it kind of helped me because I had my real life experience with a real artist you know who like sought my services and everything, but it obviously didn't work out because he didn't feel like he should have been paying a student to the full price to mix one of his songs, even though he claimed I was one of the better engineers who can like work on his voice and everything. But yeah, I got to meet a lot of interesting people. I mixed a lot of songs. Um, the songs that fulfill me the most are obviously the ones that make me try, or the songs I actually like. Those are the songs that I find more fulfilling. So those are the songs I'd rather work on rather than just rap vocals and ad libs in those 2 tracks. But if someone has like more than 10 tracks, then I'm just like, all right, I actually like working on this because I actually have to put in effort. I have to plan out where everything's gonna go. And those are the songs I actually do like the most. Nothing wrong with simple songs. I do like simple songs as well.
Dude, no,
But yeah.
No, that's freaking awesome. And honestly, shout out to Dennis for being one of those very particular type of engineers. And
right.
like I said, no, and you need that though. You need that though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you really listen to like the way you go through it, it kind of goes back to the exact same way how it goes with instruments, right? With instruments and people that learn. So there's the best and the biggest example that anybody will ever push out there, whether it's in the audio engineering industry, within it's the artist industry, vocalist, whatever, it's always piano. If you're a classically trained piano artist, somehow you're expected to understand and know every single aspect of the musical world, right? But that's not true.
Music theory, right?
Exactly. So versus the self-taught and everybody and the self-taught and the explorative, right? That's where you get a lot of the new shifts and a lot of the innovation that comes with it, because it takes an ear to be able to try to discern a lot of what comes out of the sound. So so the fact that, like I said, that you learn from Dennis the technical side a little bit more, understand that he has more of a technical way of doing things, but you're more of a kind of a go in the flow kind of thing, is like it just keeps outlining that duality within the music industry in itself. There is no rigid path to the way that things are made, and there's never going to be a rigid path to the way things are made. So, and I find that as like I said, man, like I said before we record, dude, I'm a fucking audiophile to the extent where it's just like, you tell me about hertz and everything is like, yes, that thing that goes up and down and makes, don't worry about it. If I can hear it, I'll let you know.
Understand it. Exactly. I'm like technical meanings and whatnot. People are like, oh, I want to do like 4 bars. I'm like, I don't know how to count bars, but you keep going and I'll let you know from there. And yeah, we'll go from there. But when you try to speak in like technical terms to me, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not gonna. I blanked out. I just go off of feeling, and if it sounds good, and I just like putting stuff together too as well. But yeah, Dennis is like skilled too. Like you said, he knows how to play the piano. So a lot of the times he'll be making his own beats, and that's another thing I had to learn too. Like, okay, I'm good at vocals, but when it comes to beat making, fast forward like 2022, 2023, me and Mike are still working close. He's sending stuff over to me. I'll mix it. But one thing we're spending a lot of money on were beats. And so I think in 2023, I got into making beats. I was like, let me start making my own beats. And I pretty much took a whole year off, I want to say, to just focus on making beats. And I'm not the best at it, obviously, but every once in a while, there's like a diamond in the rough, and I'll be like, all right, cool, this beat sounds dope. I'll send it over. Like for the song Bring It Back, me and Mike were working on another song. I sent him that beat, and I was about to throw the whole beat away. And he was like, no, we got to do something to this. And therefore, we ended up making a song to it. So it's like one of those things where just having someone or anyone or the right person believe in you in the time and be like, yeah, you can make beats. Because that's how I started doing my own songs. When we were on deployment, we'd all be freestyling on the mess decks and everything. And I always remember I tried to freestyle at the time, and someone was just like, hey, just stick to producing. And I wasn't even making music at the time. So, I pulled the mic to the side. I'm like, hey, you think I should get into rapping, or should I make my own stuff? And he was like, yeah, just do it. I got you. But he did in a way and such where I would send him stuff. Like after he left, I would send him a bunch of songs. He'd be like, nah, this ain't it. This is trash. He'll be joking, but I know he's serious. So when I actually did a song that he actually featured on, a song that we released called Girl from Japan, he actually wanted to feature on it. That's when I kind of knew. I'm like, okay, if he's one of the best songwriters I know in real life, and he actually does want to be on a song with me, and he actually does like a song that I did, then that opinion matters to me. So there's just like a lot of admiration, obviously, because like I said, not a lot of people have the songwriting ability that he does have, which is why we work so close. And I try to push him too, and he tries to push me as well, engineering wise, artist wise, or any. So it's always good to have like a team or just someone who you work really well with, because you definitely can't do it by yourself. You definitely can't do it alone. I had a lot of help along the way. A lot of people helped me along the way. So if it weren't for like the Mona Lisas or the Pandas or the Mikes or anybody else, or the Dennises or the Nemas or the Jays that helped me along the way, then I definitely won't be where I am today, because they all taught me something, and they all helped me get to a higher level of mixing.
Dude,
for sure.
Yeah, no, that's freaking awesome right there. And that's where it comes down into the journey and the next part that we're going to be talking about, like actually getting into the music. So that whole entire experience in itself has essentially shaped you into the person that you are now. But let's actually get into the music. So talking about a couple of the songs that you sent me over. So starting off with Besties. And this interview is going to be a little bit different because we're going to be focusing a little bit more on the production side and a little bit of the mastering than anything else. So what I got out of that one, like I said, is it reminded me, now that I know that you're from California and from that region, I'm sitting there listening to that. As soon as I clicked it on, I'm like, dude, this is too short. This is Bay Area, freaking too short. Right. This sounded so much like, it sounded like Freaky Tales, like legit, that like the bass line, it sounded a little bit like Freaky Tales. And I'm like, bro, yeah, that's it. This is Bay Area. This is dude. This is where it's at. So tell me where Besties came out, because this is you on the vocals itself, but how did that one come about in total? Where did you get the inspiration for the line? What do you call it? The groove and the melody with the production itself.
So that song literally just sounded with me playing around with the bass line, the doom, 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 doom. So that's how it started.
Hey, chillin' with the besties. Skirt around the corner in a Bentley. You ain't gotta let it kick it with me. We can get it poppin' in the backseat, baby.
I added my own vocals, because I'm trying to come up with something and I couldn't come up with anything. So after everything came together and I added the drum, or I didn't have the drums added at the time, I just had the melody. So I just wanted to go with Pharrell way, because I really liked how Daft Punk and Pharrell worked together. The like songs like Get Lucky or whatever, or Random Access Memories from Daft Punk, where I think that's one of the best albums I heard. And I think sonically, that was one of the first albums I really heard that like blew my mind, like listening to it on a computer and everything, like not a CD, but actually listening to it on YouTube. It sounded amazing, like the different sounds they had and everything. So I just went the Pharrell route, and I just made my voice high pitch. And I figured, I'm like, what if my voice is high pitch and then mixed with auto tune? So it's like chilling with the besties. So I went and recorded it, and then it sounded cool over the auto tune. And then I was like, all right, there's a hook, cool. So then I literally just told some random story of something that happened to me, like in real life. I see you all alone. Do you got a man, or did you sneak way out here all alone? And then I started rapping and just adding the ad libs and just making it bouncy and fun, because I don't want to take it too seriously, but it's just a fun song overall.
No, dude, and dude, I couldn't even tell, like, that's how good of a mix that was. I didn't even because you can always tell when somebody uses auto tune, dude. Like
Right.
to like either to fix a pitch here and there, to be able to kind of get like that flatness, to give it a little bit of extra like oomph on the treble or on the bass. But no, dude, I honestly thought that was just like, man, this is coming in like, this is coming in really smooth. I'll just put it like that, man. That thing was freaking the what do you call it? You're like, the way that the vocals blended in was just like, you couldn't tell that there was any post production to what was already done with it. No, that's interesting as hell, man. That's interesting as hell. So
yeah, and I also like, sorry about that, but before I even move forward, I have to give like a big shout out to my boy Lou Gleesh, who is also another amazing producer. He makes beats. That dude could make like 8 beats a day or within an hour, just sitting down. Make like, I met him also in Virginia. He's also in the military. When I first met him and everything, you know, he makes a beat right in front of me and then destroys it. Like he's like, yeah, I could just do this, da 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 da. And I'm like, I want that. And he just erases it. And I'm just like, dude, I wanted that beat. He was like, that I could make 18 times song 18 times better. So me and him started working close, but I sent the song off to him because at that point it's just the melody, the da 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 with the bass line. That was it. So sent it over to him. He added the drums in it and he just made it into something like really. He saw the vision. He made it into what it's gonna be. Well, once it gets released, but you know, you guys are probably gonna hear the preview. But yeah, he just transformed it with the drums and everything. So I have to give a big thanks to him too as well for being a part of that song.
yeah, dude. No, and like I said, he definitely melded in a couple bits and pieces where just like he pulled from something, man. He heard that bass line, and he pulled from something, dude. But shoot, dude, pushing it forward a little bit. So this next one is spinning, and this one Mike is on the vocals himself. He's the one doing the singing in there, and like I said, when you first sent that one to me, I couldn't even tell that it was him, man. Like that's just that that actually literally shows the entire type of versatility that, like you mentioned before, Mike has that weird power and control of the way that he can just pitch, intonate, and then just make the lyrics sound very different and as a completely different artist. But spinning, so with that one itself, listening to it in the opening piano, so that one actually gave me a little bit more of like Requiem for a Dream. Like if you remember like listening the intro to that, or even like Moonlight Sonata, sorry. It's like, it's heavily inspired. It feels a little bit heavily inspired by that. And it's obviously like a little bit more down tempo. It's a little bit less less upbeat and stuff. But it just sounded so damn good, dude. So how did that one come about?
So Mike sends that one over to me, and I hear the original. But like when I hear songs versus when you guys hear songs, it's completely different. So when I hear songs, all the vocals are flat. It literally sounds like, you know, it's recorded over whatever. It doesn't have anything on it.
Yeah, double back. She don't pick up cause the screen got cracked. She done pissed off every nigga she smashed. She gon' pipe up cause she know that she bad. I know that every time we talk you don't hold back. I don't wanna miss you. We can match 5 for the 5 was the issue. Why the all night shit?
Spinning, when he sends that over, at that time I was listening to a lot of The Weeknd. I like The Weeknd because he's one of my favorite artists, especially his older stuff. I like that dark R&B vibe, like, you know. I remember the first time I heard The Hills, or the first time I heard, like, his vocals are undeniable. Closest thing we got to Michael Jackson, next to Bruno Mars. But yeah, so when he first sent that over to me, I was like, I already started like mapping it out. When I hear a song first, like, and I hear the dry version, I start mapping it out in my head. I'm like, okay, this vocal's gonna go here, that vocal's gonna go there, and everything. So funny story about that song too, but I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, once he gave it to me, I just started like panning everything left and right. There's a lot of movement, and especially when he says my head is spinning, especially in the beginning, I definitely want to like make it seem like the vocals are moving, like spinning. I wanted to make it seem like it's spinning, like it's like, you know, buzzing, especially in headphones. So yeah, I just started mixing that song. I started just putting things together and, you know, just mixing the best I can. I was at SAE at the time. And then funny story about that one is the best teacher in the school, his name is Scott. He's hard to please. Like, you know, people will play songs for him and he will hurt your feelings. He made a girl cry, literally, just by telling her a song wasn't good. And I'm trying to impress Scott. Everyone in the class is trying to impress Scott at this time. And I'm just like, I'll just show him one song. I showed him one and he was like, yeah, it's decent. You got potential. So I kind of hurt my ego a little bit, you know, my pride. So I was like, all right, here's this new one I'm working on. It's called Spinning. He hears like a demo version and he just goes off and he's like, this is the perfect song. This is how you mix. And he's like looking at everybody, this is how you mix a song. So I'm like, man, if he likes it, then it definitely got to be, I probably did a good job with the mixing and everything. So that's how that song came out. And yeah, it's one of those songs that's, I can't even tell you how I did it. And I can't even redo it, even if I wanted to. I can't even recreate it, even if I wanted to. So I'm glad it worked out the way it did, honestly.
Dude, yeah. No, and like I said, I couldn't even notice that, like I said, but like I'm gonna re-listen to it and then try to point out what it is that you were trying to do with that, like on your mixdown. And like you said, it's really, really true how when you listen to both the raw audio and what do you call it, and also depending on the format that it's coming in, because it's you're either gonna get a good compression, you're gonna get bad compression, you're gonna get good background noise, you're gonna get really background noise that's either gonna be noisy or not. But yeah, man. So like the fact that you point that out, that there's a very specific way in how you as an engineer have to manage what you originally hear versus what we as the end product are consuming is completely different. And that's where I can honestly say a lot of producers get credit for what they do, but they don't get the respect and engineering props for what they actually do, because 1,000,000,001 songs every single day, right? But if you can't get that one song to sound how it is, it could have the best hook, it could have the best lines, the best lyricist, it could be sung by the #1 artist on the Billboard charts at this moment. If there's no correct mixdown and no proper mastering to be able to make it sound good, you're literally sitting there with a piece of coal just waiting to be turned into a diamond. There's not even in the rough, man.
Yeah, a lot of songs are good. It's just like the way they're mixed and the way they're presented to people. That's why people turn away from it. Like Ice JJ Fish is the perfect example. He's a great songwriter. Just the way he delivers it isn't great. But everyone else who sings it, you know, the song sounds like a hit. So yeah, you know, Spinning is just one of those songs that I really had fun mixing. And I would probably try to redo it because I think I mixed that back in 2023, I want to say. So, and that song's been out for a while now. So I'm pretty sure I could do a whole lot better, but it's just one of those songs that one of the older ones I'm actually proud to go back to and listen to and be like, okay, this is one of my favorites just because it was done pretty well. Because I usually don't like listening to my old stuff. Even my old catalog that's up right now, I want to flush it out with the newer songs I'm working on right now with production and, you know, just better. I just want to show growth in the new stuff that I release.
Yeah, no, and that's legit. That's a legitimate statement right there. So with that one though, let's push a little bit forward. So so Therapy, right? So that one was also your production, or that was just mastering and engineering it?
No, that's half the melody in Therapy is my production. And then we had someone else do the drums and mix everything in. So Therapy is that guitar sample. Yeah. That's me. And, you know, when Mike had came over one time, he laid some vocals over it. And I was like, all right, cool.
Don't know what to think this time. You ain't about the business that you told, baby. I know you've been hurt for a call. We don't have to cross that line.
The way it sounded acoustically, but, you know, we knew it needed more, especially the beat switch at the end. So we sent it off to his friend who he mentioned, his boy that he grew up with, Sidel, and he added the drums and everything. And Sidel did like a really quick mix. The hard part about that is everything that he did. It was like a long list of everything that he did. So I literally had to go in. I had to mix the drums. I had to mix the bass. I had to mix everything, even like all the extra added stuff he did. And it wasn't like anything simple either. He went all out, which is, I appreciate it. More work for me though. I'm going in, I'm EQing everything, I'm toning like the volume down, I'm compressing everything, and then finally we got the full version that, you know, I had sent. So that song was rough, but I'm glad it came out the way it did, because, you know, it's a really good song.
Yeah, dude, and that production actually, and honestly, it reminded me of Don Omar Bandolero. So from the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift ending soundtrack to put it out very specific. But yeah, I was listening. It's like same thing, kind of like with going back to Besties. That one really, literally, like, it sounded inspired and it sounded very similar to it. But like I said, and then nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong. Like a lot of people take, a lot of artists and producers take from other artists and inspiration. And this one will actually, well, now with that one, let me ask you this, more of an opinionated question as a producer and engineer. What's your take on the sampling versus original melodies?
I don't mind sampling at all because, almost every Kanye West song is a sampled song. And that's one thing I had to learn, which is why it gives that feeling of nostalgia. Like, for instance, Good Life, it's Michael Jackson. Dun, 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 PYT. That's why we're so drawn to it. Every song, like, I feel like there's lazy sampling where people just take the entire melody of a song and then put that into their rap song and they didn't change anything at all. But when it comes to sampling, I feel like the true art of sampling is taking something old, using a little bit of the melody, and then making something like completely new out of it. But these days, people take sampling too far, and they're singing the same melody, word for word, bar for bar, barely changing anything, almost using the same beat and just running with it. But I feel like sampling is, when done right, you'll know when it's done right. It won't feel copied. It won't feel like you stole something from someone. It'll just feel right.
Yeah, no, and that's a good way to put it, especially someone that has that type of background in your, what do you call it, for bits and pieces of your inspiration. Like you said, Kanye West, he's very well known for a lot of the samples that he did with a lot of his albums. So yeah, no, that carries a lot of weight. That definitely carries a lot of weight, putting it that way. But let's move it forward. So now going over to Girl from Mexico. This one was both your production and you on the vocals, man. So you mentioned earlier Girl from Japan. That's two different stories, man. So where's this one? Because it sounds like you were either in San Diego or somewhere out in LA, man. Because like I said, man, I'm from the West Coast, dude. I'm from the West Side out there. So there's only a couple of things that could be coming out from that. So
story behind that song, I've been wanting to go to Mexico for the longest time. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So I just made the song to kind of like mirror, like, oh, what if I did go to Mexico and I met a girl in Mexico? So that's why I just picked a random place and I was like, hit up Tijuana. That's how I really started off.
That's beautiful. You know what I mean? I gotta take a trip out there someday, you know what I'm saying? It ain't even gotta be like nothing all crazy, you know? Just trying to get to know you better, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, love. Hit up Tijuana.
But the beat, like, I really like the beat and I wanted to see something creative with it. And even the Rico Suave, that was like lady my voice. I just sampled my voice in there. And, I just had fun with it because I actually went to Japan, met a girl from Japan. So I was like, well, what if I met a girl in Mexico? And I kind of just went from there. And it was a fun song overall. And I really had fun with the beat and the drums and everything. So that full production is just fun for me, honestly. And just to make the song as fun as possible.
Yeah, dude. Sometimes that's just the best thing you can do is like with little stories, man. Just put them together and they'll definitely work. So then let's push it over to the next one then. And this is an unreleased one. This one is still a demo. So this one will definitely be a bit of a preview. And that's Flavor. And that's Steffan. He's in there as the lead vocals. And this was also your production or just mastering?
No, lead vocals, beat wise, production wise. That one, I made the beat on a whim one night. I think I make my best stuff at, honestly, all the songs I sent you that have me on them, they were made like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So every day before I go to bed, I want to create something. I want to make something before I go to bed. So, and I always want to make it like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It's weird. But before I'm about to go to bed, I always make these songs. I hear them back in the morning and I'm just like, all right, this sounds cool. But Flavors, it started out with the melody to do, do, do. So Mike had made a song called Cropped Out, which is high energy also. So when he had came here, he had made Cropped Out and I loved the energy he brought behind it. So afterwards, I tried to do my own little version of that. And that's when Flavors came out.
She got a lot of flavor. She from the block where they got the bodegas. She got a lot of layers. She independent, niggas try to save her. She got an attitude, she better watch her behavior. I'm just a paper chaser. She just my ting for the night, one container. She got a lot of flavor.
Mad at me, he's like, man, I really like the way that flavor sounds. I'm like, all right, bet, man, this sounds like it's a good song. I haven't tried to make my own tag with the I see you more like a fly or whatever, but I don't have a tag yet because I'm not a beat maker. But overall, the song was just fun to make, and you know, just having fun with the energy and just enjoying it.
Yeah, dude, and it does seem like that. Like inspiration will hit you at the most like inopportune times, which is like at the weirdest moments. So like the fact you're saying is like it's 2-3 o'clock in the morning and this came about, and and it does sound like a little bit sleepy to it too. Like I like now that you mentioned it's like 2:30, it's like it sounds a little bit sleepy to it, kind of just like I need something like bring me down a little bit, but it's just like it's gonna be just like a little boost of like that hey, let's get this done for the end of the day. Like I think we're good.
Right. So yeah, like that's why the beginning sounds so lo-fi-ish, because it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm ready for bed, so I made it sound like an old school 8-bit video game. Like the melody sounds like really 8-bit-ish, and you know, like just like a video game, because it wasn't supposed to go the direction it went. And then once I added the drums were just high energy, so it just brought like the lyrics just kind of came to me. And she got a lot of flavors. She from the block where they got the bodegas, and you know, she got a lot of layers. She independent, and then just going forward. And then the whisper, the watch, and everything just came together really well. And you know, the pause before I go into the verse, the I can get married, not jump in no rooms, and whatever, and just going from there, it was fun. It was just fun overall.
Yeah, dude, no, and it's there, man. It's there, dude. Like it has that little very specific type of it's got that specific type of flow that is just like it's meant to be a little bit playful, and like how you say it, dude. But man, dude, freaking I'm over here just freaking gushing over the fact that I'm just like, dude, this dude is doing it all too, man. It's like this is another renaissance man in the same way that Malik and Mike, and I'm like, so, dude, I'll give you guys your praise, dude, for all of that, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to do what you guys do.
So, yeah, that's why I respect them too as well, because you know, Malik is also a really great lyricist too. The man can sit down and write lyrics for days. And like I said, that's one of the things I admire about the two of them, because I can't do that. Like I'll give you a verse, or I'll give you a hook, first hook, and that's it. I'm not giving you a second verse, because hopefully my whole point is to at least get the song to 2 minutes. Once I do that, I'm good. But I don't have lyrics flowing out of me like crazy. I can come up with a catchy hook. I can give you one really good verse, and then that's it. Because I realized when I would try to add like a second verse or whatever, I'd just be saying a bunch of nonsense and just trying to rhyme words at that point. I don't want to be like that. So I'd rather just give you a really catchy hook, a really good verse, and then go back to the hook and then end the song, and that's it.
Dude, hey, respectable, man. That's respectable. Yeah. That's hey, dude.
Know your limit. I know my limit. So you know, my limit is one good verse, and that's it. So.
Oh yeah, dude. But you push your limits to it in a different way, where like adds to a different perspective, and that's where you've honed your craft at, which is that mastering, that engineering, and that production side to it, dude. To be able to make that work for you. But to finish off the music part. So Nobody, that one is still unreleased, or that one's already been released?
No, that's still unreleased too. So you know, a few nice little gems to push Mike to release them. That's why I sent it to you, so you would play them. So you'd be like, oh man, I gotta release these. Dude, but no, I'm kidding. He's definitely gonna release them soon.
no, dude. And that's like that. Like I said, that's the main point with doing these. Like, give them a little bit of a sample, and then whoever hears them will get like hooked onto. It's like, hey man, who are these dudes doing all their stuff? So, but sticking with Nobody. So Nobody, like really same thing. Your production as well, correct? So with that one was a little bit more soulful. So that one has a complete different tone to the rest of the songs, and has that really, really old school R&B, really piano. Like, yes, exactly. So, and then that's what I wrote down. So it was about the piano. And then later on in the track, you get a little bit of like a backing guitar that kind of just ends up and fills out the melody. It really fills out the melody with it, dude. So with that one is Mike back on the vocals, and this is your production, this is your mastering, dude. So with that one being one of these tracks that is going to be released in the future, where did that whole production come about in itself? Because like I said, it's really soulful, and it's very very, very like late 80s, early 90s R&B inspired.
Yeah, so with that one, it was done in the same session when he had came here for therapy. That was done in the same day. So we did therapy and we did Nobody in the same day.
Only been back in the city. Pull up, just hop in the passenger seat. Birkin your bag, what you carrying in it. Ain't met nobody like you in a minute. I need nobody, 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 nobody but you. I need nobody, 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 nobody but you. Go ahead,
Melody for Nobody, the piano and the guitar, that's all my melodies. And then we sent it off to Sidel again, and he did amazing with the drums and everything. So he went ahead and added the drums, and once again I had to mix it, make sure the bass hits right and everything. So yeah, it was a little bit of work because I like everything sounding the best it can sound. So once that came about, it was just mixing the vocals. The big vocals were already mixed, and then yeah, it was like the same thing with therapy. Just kind of mix the vocals, make it sound like a vibe, master it the right way, make sure everything that's supposed to be widened I want you to hear. There's more stuff like when I mix too, I want you to feel it more than hear it. Because, it's there, but once you're in a mood or the song puts you in the right mood, you'll feel those hidden gems I hide in the songs. Because there's a lot of stuff that, me and Mike, we fight a lot with these songs actually when it's mixed. I'm like, I think you should leave this in there. He's like, no, we should take it out. Or he thinks we should leave something in there, and I think we should take it out. So we'll try to meet halfway. So the stuff that he wants to take out, I'll make it something you can feel rather than hear. And the stuff that he wants me to keep or whatnot, or I want to take out, it's the same thing, same difference.
Yeah. And so, continue.
Oh, no. So his vocals too, it's very authoritative. So that's why I made them a little bit the way they are. So go ahead and put your pride to, because it's like high energy, but it's still R&B, but it's still authoritative. It was like a weird song for me, definitely to mix, because there's like a lot of different feelings I want you to feel in that song.
Yeah, so the lyrics really are more commanding, because I think where you're going about it is like they really do command a very specific type of way that you listen to them and with what they're saying, and with the way that the beat itself is actually made and what do you call it, kind of like wraps the lyrics around it and engulfs them, is like that's where that mix really really comes in. And how you said a little bit earlier, like something about making it, there is something about making the person feel what you're trying to convey with that in itself is what I think goes back to You and Everybody Else. You also produced that one, correct?
No, I had nothing to do with that song.
Now the one,
I didn't mix it.
My bad, man. My bad.
That was all his writing, and that's why I was saying, like, for that album, like there's only like 3 songs I produced and mixed and mastered, and that's what that kind of gave me a wake up call, because it's like, man, these other guys that are mixing the songs, they're the gap is crazy to me. So I wanted to definitely close that gap and like go a different route, because if you notice for that album, the vocals are a little on the darker side. I like make my vocals bright to contrast that. So any song where his vocals, and also I mix to the point where you feel like you're talking to that person in real time. Since I talked to Mike so many times, I know how his voice sounds. I know what frequencies to take out to make it seem like when his songs are playing, it sounds like you're having a conversation with him, like in real time. That's why the vocals are a little bit on the brighter side. I do that on purpose, just so, especially for spinning or whatever. Yeah, bring it back. Like it's supposed to be like, especially when you listen to him, like you can envision that person right in front of you. Even when I make my songs, I want to envision. That's why before I mix anyone's songs, I'd rather have a conversation with them so I can hear what their voice sounds like. So when I mix, I'm like, okay, this is what they sound like in person. Even with auto-tune, I blend auto-tune with your vocals to help you with your pitch, but you won't hear it, but it's apparent, it's there. Mike, for whatever reason, even though he can sing, he likes the auto-tune that you can hear. He's weird, but I don't think he needs it. That's another thing we go back and forth about. So that's one of those things that, we fight about in post-production, because we're kind of like siblings in that sense. But yeah.
Dude, artistic choice. That's that one that was literally specifically artistic choice. No, nothing else other than that. And no offense, Mike, once you see this, dude, but that is strictly artistic choice. I will side with Steffan on this one, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, the engineer knows best sometimes. So
no, dude, and it makes sense. But here with that in itself, though, so bringing it actually back to You and Everyone Else, and in the way that you mix Nobody, you are right. You are right. So there is that big shift between the way that those songs were released with Mike and that production value, the value of that production, not so much the production value. The value of that production is that you're right. His vocals do sound a little bit colder with everybody else and with that song specifically, but with a lot of those other ones. And it's not that it's an empty room kind of feeling. It's like that level of warmth doesn't exist. But like you said, you understand and you know the vocal ranges, the pitch, the way that his actual vocal range kind of like reverts back and forth depending on how he's delivering the line, the verse. So right. It's very specific. It's really very specific to how Nobody is, and how, like I said, everything literally is just engulfed around the fact that it's like there is no missing piece with the beats, with the backing, with the tracks, with the melody, and with the vocals. It's like it's all encompassed and it's all melded together. It's like a good soup, you know? It just it tastes like the fact that you don't taste 90% of the ingredients means that it's that good of it's been that good blended and it's that consumable to that. Not palatable, because you can always make anything palatable, but it's consumable and it's enjoyable.
And I think you said it best, honestly. I actually like it the way you said that. That level of warmth doesn't exist in real life. Like, no matter how smooth your voice is and whatnot, if it doesn't exist, then, you know, I'm actually going to use that a few times, or more than a few times. But yeah, the level of warmth that he has on that album, it's not real in a sense, you know. That's why the songs I mix, you could tell they're a little bit brighter, like Forget, Could You Be, and Miles Davis. Like, like back then when I wasn't as good, I definitely wanted to make it seem like you're having a conversation with that person, you know, in real life. And I'll add the reverb around that too. Because you could get that tone of voice in the bathroom. If you go in the bathroom and the room's empty and you talk, you know, even the reverbs I use, I try to make them seem like they're natural reverbs around the room and whatnot. I'm not going to mix it with something super dark, or, you know, it depends. It all depends on how your vocals are and how I mix it in the end of the day. So
yeah,
that's what I usually go for.
No, dude. And that's a perfect way to be able to put it that way, dude. So, like, well, going off of this entire catalog, man, I mean, like I said, you already got Flavors and Nobody. Those are already demos. We're going to be, people are going to be listening to them and previewing them on this episode. And there's going to be stuff. What else are you working, you yourself, on personal projects that we could be looking to in the future, either within the remainder of this year or even in this coming year, 2026?
So right now I'm working on, even all the songs I'm working on, the ones that, there's just a bunch of songs I haven't sent you already. I have so many songs and demos that I can like just pick and choose from them. So I'm probably just going to put a little tape together, a little EP. And I'm more of a singles, because I know how people's attention spans are these days. I'm just going to drop a bunch of singles. And Russ is one of my favorite artists too. So all he does is really drop a single every week. So just have everything planned out and just have it drop every week and just create a bunch of content for it. So I'm going to have probably like a little EP of a bunch of songs I released anyways, and just probably go to Fetty Wap route. All the songs I already released, just put those on the album because you already heard them already. And then just go from there, because it might be old to me, but it's going to be new to somebody eventually.
Yeah, very well put in that, dude, in that regard. Man, well, I think we covered a pretty good portion of everything that we were going to talk about with this stuff, with what I was able to listen to before the interview, and then just learning a little bit more about you. But yeah, but for my listeners and anybody that stumbles upon this episode, where can we find you? Where's your social media at? And then and I'm going to put this as a shameless freaking plug, get this man in your studio, get this man to do what he is doing, because he's creating a craft that is, one, seldom observed, seldom recognized, and needs a lot more attention. Because I'm telling you, dude, with what I do with my stuff is at leagues below to what you're going with that. And I'm just doing simple audio mixing to make sure my voice and your guys' voice sounds good on these interviews.
Right. Which is still pretty good, but I'm on Instagram. You can find me. My artist page is Andre, ANDRAYYY 408. And then for my personal mixing page is Steffandre, so STEFFANDRE 10. That's where you guys can find me. I'm on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Music. I'm on all streaming platforms with my music, which is just Andre, ANDRAY. That's my artist name. But yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me. And yeah, I work with a bunch of people, and yeah, I dabble in mixing. So
Dude, there you go. No, perfect, man. Well, once again, thank you, dude. Thank you, Steffan. Thank you, Steffan Brown, for coming on to Soundbits, man. And like I said, this is definitely an honor to speak to somebody that has that technical know-how, and to be able to get a little bit of the extra perspective. But like I said, something that people take very, very for granted when it comes, because at the very end, if you don't understand why a lot of the things aren't happening in the music space like that, dude, it's probably because you don't have a good engineer, or just there's not love into the craft. But outside of that, dude, no, like I said, this has been another episode of Soundbits, so we'll go ahead, we'll call it a day. Have a good rest of your evening, man. Not a problem, dude.
Bring it back,